are watching UTR News with me, Anna Pershina. The money equivalent of the National Taras Shevchenko Prize will be increased twice, up to $61,000. This was informed by Viktor Yanukovych in his speech during the meeting of Public Humanitarian and Coordination Councils, which conduct preparations to celebration of Taras Shevchenko's 200th anniversary. According to the president, the most important thing is to preserve poet's heritage. A lot of objects are now being constructed or renewed owing to the date. Moreover, the wide-scale solemnities are planned to be held. Together with this, the head of state suggested proclaiming the 9th of March, the day of poet's birthday, a reconciliation day.
I am convinced that the time has come to look into the eyes of each other and ask, what do we dream of? What are our hopes and expectations? Currently, we have the truce. So after that, peace should come. The rebuilding of our country should firstly bring the improvement of the lives of Ukrainians.
Government officials are concerned about sudden warming. Above zero temperature may result in floods. So in order to prevent rising water level, Acting Vice Prime Minister of Ukraine Alexander Vilkul ordered the heads of regions to test hydraulic systems and be 100% ready in case of emergency. Details next.
Preventive measures and strict control may help to prevent rising water level, government officials say. Taking into account changeable weather, Alexander Vilkul gave an order to monitor the situation 24/7. Particular attention should be paid to western regions and the basin of the Dnipro, the Dniester and the Danube rivers. Emergency crews are to be ready for work. Sewage and drainage system must operate smoothly, and the equipment is to be ready as well.
We had an experience of dealing with flood in 2013, when there was the highest rate of precipitation over the past 100 years. Due to preventative measures, the water level was completely under control and there wasn't massive flooding. This year, flood-prone areas should be taken care of as efficiently as it was last year.
They report in the profile service that a free container has been already prepared. Nearly 5,500 workers of emergency services are ready for work, as well as 770 units of heavy machinery. However, officials do not expect significant worsening of weather conditions.
To prevent the harmful effects of rising water level, 110 protective polder drainage pumping stations and 272 wells of vertical drainage work 24/7. If necessary, there are 500 additional polder and drainage pumping stations. For elimination of possible local flooding, 110 mobile pumping stations are prepared. Taking into consideration current hydrological conditions, flooding without significant negative consequences is expected. Such forecasts have been made lately. We should be prepared for any scenario. Monitoring and readiness for immediate response to different situations are of great importance.
Because of warm weather, in 2-3 weeks the repair of potholes on the roads will be started. Taking into account the condition of the roadways, they do expect a large amount of work in Ukroptodor. Getting funding on time is their only request.
In early January, when the weather conditions were favorable, we managed to repair almost 188 square meters of roads. In 2 to 3 weeks, in case of favorable weather conditions, the planned repair of potholes will be started. Last year, we repaired nearly 7 million square meters of road surface. It's a real figure. The roads are worn out.
Potentially dangerous facilities and waterworks have been already examined before possible floods. Government officials say linear schemes of the rivers have been created and different scenarios of flooding and its liquidation have been worked out. As for possible local floods, in case of necessity, local authorities should take care of providing towns and villages with food, medicines and medical aid. Polina Naumisiulia, Yevhen Kovalenko, UTR News.
The number of taxis in Ukraine is going to be reduced from the current 22 to 14. This announcement was made by Alexander Klemenko. According to Acting Minister, these changes should simplify accountancy and cut costs for both businesses and ministry itself.
The elimination of certain taxes is not going to be compensated by the increase of the remaining ones, assures the ministry. According to authorities, the law regarding tax reduction is to be passed in the nearest future.
We continue working on realization of a number of structural reforms. They are all directed at easing the conditions for doing business, supporting of entrepreneurial initiative and revitalization of foreign trade. Both the business and the state are in need of long-term planning. Strict and clear norms regarding registration of income tax have been defined. We've made a significant step towards harmonization of national and international accountancy standards.
Reforms will not pass up the duties either. Plans are in place to simplify the customs procedures with goods and to create price database which will allow monitoring the price of goods on Ukrainian market and defining their true customs value.
You'll understand what the asking price is. You'll check the codes in the database to find the actual price of each item in Ukraine, and you'll see the price, or you'll need the documents to confirm the correct price of goods. You'll have 6 methods to find the customs value.
It is based on the notion that a certain average market price will be formed based on the prices that are openly available in official sources of information that exist in customs declarations of goods that have already gone through customs.
While further innovations are being prepared, the reforms that have already been implemented are said to be delivering positive results. Thanks to the introduction of transfer price formation, the number of offshore export operations in Ukraine has been reduced, the ministry noted.
I assure you all possible schemes for us are plain to see. The Ministry of Duties and Fees has all the necessary tools to fight them. Any unlawful pressure on business using the mechanism of transfer price formation is out of the question. On the contrary, we are trying to make Ukrainian tax system more transparent for investors.
The system of added value tax refunds is working flawlessly, claims the authority. According to the ministry, the body has no debt to businesses involved in foreign economic activity.
Let's look at the price structure. How many overdue debts are there? The answer is 0. It's 0. Are there any debts that we are contesting in courts? Sure they are. There are current debts that are paid out within 60 days. They amount to around 517 million euro. It is always around 400 to 500 million depending on the period. Then there are court hearings that we tend to win, by the way.
According to official data, the ministry refunded over 4.5 billion euro to entrepreneurs overall, while indebtedness carried over from previous years has been reduced by 25.8 million. As of January 2014, this figure made almost 1.3 billion euro. Yulia Khromova, Igor Korkodim, UTR News.
The National Bank has introduced restrictions for Ukrainian banks to buy foreign currency amounting at more than $6,000. According to financiers, the political instability caused the drain of money, and such measures will drastically reduce the outflow of the capital from Ukraine. However, private banks and entrepreneurs criticize such measures. They say hard regulations can threaten the development of Ukrainian industry and economy in the whole. Our journalists know more.
Ukrainian National Bank establishes temporary restrictions on the foreign currency purchase, adopting resolutions number 48 and 49. According to them, the agency limits the currency purchase for 3 kinds of operations. First, for early repayment of foreign currency loans to foreign lenders, as well as financial aid. Second, for partial coverage of the insurance companies' reserves. Third, investment of Ukrainian companies into other countries. However, such innovations can cause significant damage to domestic enterprises, say representatives of Association of Ukrainian Banks.
For example, all money of an enterprise is on the bank account. But if it is needed to enter the forex market to buy foreign currency for import or loan pay, these funds will be simply transferred to another account. But banks won't use that money as it is not beneficial for them and Ukrainian economy at the same time.
As a result, we have the reduction of business working capital and additional currency risks. Currently, the forex procedure is the following. The bank sends the hryvnia equivalent, and only after 6 days it is allowed to receive a dollar sum. But the main thing is that banks are prohibited to buy foreign currency for clients in the amount of $6,000 if this amount is transferred abroad.
When we freeze the funds for 5 days, the rate may fall or rise. That is, for the second day there are no funds on our bank account. Our bank doesn't work at all. At the same time, the dollar exchange rate has risen. Then it turns out that having liabilities to transfer funds to my partner outside Ukraine, I do not have enough hryvnias to buy the foreign currency.
In addition to the risks of real sector's activity, it creates problems of financial institutions' liquidity.
As of the 11th of February, we had 21 billion on correspondent accounts, and the rate on the interbank market is 28%. Just imagine 28%. In essence, this means that banks cannot lend to each other, therefore they cannot provide the interbank forex market liquidity.
However, they say in the National Bank that such regulations will decrease the demand for the dollar from banks, and therefore the opportunity for currency speculation will become impossible. Also, it will reduce the capital outflow from Ukraine, which has started due to political instability in the late 2013. Volodymyr Zhila, Alina Katz, Evgen Stepanov, UTR News.
Federalization of Ukraine is not a proper solution of the political crisis, as such model of political entity characterized by a union of partially self-governing regions can further aggravate the situation in the state, the analysts say. Instead, proper local government's reform can be a way out of political and economic crisis, as citizens of Ukraine have confidence in local authorities. The return to the constitution of 2004 should mark the beginning of the transition period when new local government legislation is to be developed. Details next.
Internal reforms of the country have already become a learner issue. The political crisis gave impetus to the decentralization of authorities in Ukraine. However, the political elite of southeastern regions started speaking about federalization, analysts say. Such claims cause recessionist sentiments.
It looks like an attempt to establish oligarch system in the country, and the speakers are its supporters, and it completely contradicts the ideas of Maidan.
The federalization, at least in Europe, is a historically formed tradition. There were a weak monarch and his powerful nobles. And to be honest, the king had fewer powers than his fiefs, whom he called now the oligarchs.
To re-establish credibility of citizens, such as a primary task of Ukrainian authorities, analysts say. According to sociological survey of December, the most part of Ukrainians, 30%, trust local authorities, 20% trust the president, and only 15% trust the parliament. Thus, analysts stress, the only way out is to hand over more powers to local governments.
The forming of local administrations that will be effective and will carry out its public functions is our priority. Local government process in Ukraine should be maximally developed. However, central governing authority has to amalgamate constituent political units, that is, on district level. It will certainly lead to administrative territorial reform.
The resetting of Constitution 2004 is a positive process, but only for a short time, an affiliated MP Andrei Pavelko considers. First, it is necessary to equalize the powers of the president and parliament, and then to change the legislation.
I think parliamentary presidential reauthorization proposed today does not satisfy the majority of the population, as it has just rebelled against the rigid vertical of power.
The federalization is just good PR stunt for some politicians, say the experts. Changing the state system when the power is shared between national and provincial governments is not a crisis solution, as human values but not territorial issues should be the priority. Volodymyr Zhila, Oksana Shupik, Evgen Sorenko, UTR News.
Ukrainian National Palace of Fires gathered more than 4,000 Afghan war veterans. They have come here from all the corners of the country to participate in the forum. Former fellow soldiers were remembering their youth and died comrades. Our journalists have also visited the reunion. Former soldiers internationalists don't remember the past that much, they talk about the present. They discuss the current conditions of living and general life routine. Children and grandchildren promise social assistance and pensions. Priest Mykolai remembers about the life events. At 18 he was sent to Afghan army troop, then entered technical school, later the police college.
I've served at the police for 20 years. When working at police, I entered the seminary distantly. Later, after retirement, I was induced onto a church office and served there for 5 years already.
15 years flew past, but the professional soldier still worries about the motherland's destiny and patriotic education of youth. According to him, orders weren't discussed in his times, and they had to wage war where they had been set to.
During the 1.5 years of war, there were so many tragic events that I remember. Nowadays, we're holding a certain education work with the youth. Its main goal is to prevent war, whatever happens.
According to the President of Ukraine decree, the year 2014 is announced the year of army actions on the territories of other states. Afghan Brotherhood must be the most numerous in Ukraine. The solemn ceremony has been visited by a hero of the Soviet Union, Colonel General Boris Gromov, who headed the troops' withdrawal from Afghanistan. He was awarded with Yaroslav the Wise Medal by the President. His former army comrades were awarded with orders of various classes for different merits by the government. During 10 years of war actions, 3,432 Ukrainians didn't come back home, 72 went missing and captivated. Anna Pershina, Inessa Zanina, Volodymyr Plishakov, UTR News. Year 2014 is declared the International Year of Taras Shevchenko, the greatest Ukrainian poet. Less than a month is left before the bicentennial anniversary of the Kobzar. In such a way, the writer was nicknamed after the famous book under the same title. The special meeting of organizing committee for the 200th anniversary of Shevchenko has been held in the capital. Our journalists have also visited the event.
More than 350 events are planned to be held this year in Kyiv in memory of Taras Shevchenko. These are different literary soirees and competitions. Exhibition of children's work are already taking place in all parts of capital.
I have been to Shevchenko's event organized by the Department of Youth and Sports of Kyiv State Administration. At present, there are 4 studies in Kyiv which involve parents and whole families to the educational process. We try to find new forms of creative development that will allow to reach the heart of every child, every young person, exactly in the family environment. We want to establish conditions for studying cultural heritage of our great poet.
More than $2 million have been allocated from the state budget for the upgrading of National Museum of Taras Shevchenko. Officials promise on the 3rd of March updated Kobzar's attractions will open the doors for visitors. Besides, all sites associated with the name of Ukrainian genius will be put to order.
We have already filed an application to the city administration to complete improvement of the Shevchenko's park and the boulevard named after him. It will be first-class renovation. The fence of Fomin Botanical Garden, is a part of National Taras Shevchenko's University, and it'll be good to make renovation there as well. Shevchenko's square should be reconstructed and become a civilized place. One of the ways is an integrated development through investment agreement, as now it is just one of the entranceways to the city and it doesn't look like a capital's level symbol.
Despite turmoil, officials are optimistic and promise to resolve all issues of poets commemorating together with investors. Volodymyr Zhila, Alexander Panchenko, Igor Gonchar, UTR News.
This was the last news we'd prepared for you. Join us tomorrow to get fresh information. For now, I am saying you goodbye. Ukrainian Press Review program is to your attention. Next Saturday, the day of honoring of participants of battle actions on the territory of other states, and a memorable date, the 25th anniversary since withdrawal of troops of former Soviet Union from the Republic of Afghanistan, will be marked in Ukraine. Having informed about it, the Golos Ukraini newspaper noted that by different estimations, more than 160,000 soldiers and officers from Ukraine participated in Afghan war. With the goal of worthy honoring of their courage, self-denial, and faithfulness to military obligation, it was decided to mark the date at the state level. The plan of solemn events this week consists of several points. Thus, last Tuesday, an artistic exhibition, Trial of War, was opened at the National Parliamentary Library. On the 12th of February, scientific practical conference, Use of Experience of Participation in Battle Actions on the Territory of Other States in Providing State Security of Ukraine, was held. On Thursday, a concert will be held at the National Palace of Arts Ukraine as well. The main events are planned for the 15th of February. This day at 10 a.m. a ritual of memory, line of flowers and public requiem in the Church of Christ's Resurrection will take place on the territory of the Old Ukrainian Memorial Complex monument to the perished in Afghanistan. It is planned to hold a meeting of battle friends at the National Museum of the World War II on the territory of the exposition, Tragedy and Heroism of Afghanistan. The Afghanistan topic was continued by the publication in the Krishchatik newspaper. It reminds that 2014 is the year of participants of battle actions on the territory of other states by decree of the President of Ukraine. Kyiv authorities pay particular attention to this category of citizens. Last Tuesday, on the eve of memorable date, 22 warriors internationalists received orders for flats. Presentation of reports on receiving of flats, as well as memorable presents and decorations from capital authorities, took place in the Ukraine Palace of Arts during the meeting with warriors, internationalists and families of those who perished in Afghanistan. At present, there are 12,000 warriors of Afghanistan in Kyiv. Almost 700 of them became disabled during the war. Besides, even after obtaining of independence, Ukraine continued its peacemaking activity. Within this time, our state entered the first top 20 of the most active states peacemakers. Within frameworks of cooperation with the UN, Ukrainian warriors were in Kosovo, Lebanon, Kuwait, Sierra Leone, Iraq, and other states. Currently, our military men execute peacemaking missions in 8 countries of the world. The next are news from the Природа and Суспільство newspaper. The Minister of Ecology and Natural Resources of Ukraine received 180 million hryvnias to solve the problem of sanitation of the Siversky Donetsk River and to improve the ecology on the territory of Kharkiv, Luhansk and Donetsk regions. Acting Minister of Ecology Oleg Proskuryakov declared about it at the briefing. He stated that in 2014 they plan to remove and neutralize pesticide residues and containers, continue works for redevelopment of dumps for solid wastes, and construct new dumps and complexes of waste utilization. According to Acting Minister of Ecology and Natural Resources, during this year territories of objects of Natural Reserve Fund will be enlarged and new nature reserves will be created in several Ukrainian regions. The chain of centers for caring rare animal species will be established. Besides, this year 21 million hryvnias will be assigned to conduct ecological and geological monitoring of the territory of Kalush mining area in Ivano-Frankivsk region. As the Cherkasky Krai newspaper writes, winners of competition of National Project Open World have been announced. The most pleasant thing is that among 2,000 schools of Ukraine that took part in the competition, 58 schools were from Cherkasy region. Over 4,000 educational institutions took part in the competition. About 1 million of Ukrainians participated in the national project. Head of the State Agency for Investments and National Projects Management of Ukraine, Vladislav Haskiev, said that taking into consideration such an active participation in the competition, we need to introduce qualitative changes into the system of Ukrainian education. He states that many village schools applied for participation in the competition. Therefore, children from different corners of Ukraine have equal educational opportunities. The project provides introduction of modern technologies into the educational process. At the first stage of the project, 54 schools were provided with modern equipment. By the end of 2015, it is planned to provide all secondary schools of Ukraine with modern technologies. At the second stage of the project, 17,000 orphans will get personal modern equipment free of charge. The next stage is holding of tenders on selection of best providers of equipment for schools. It goes about interactive boards, digital laboratories and network equipment. According to the newspaper, providers selected on a competitive basis will control adherence to specification by schools winners and will install and repair equipment. Further news from Lviv newspaper Высокий Замок is to your attention. Writers Serhiy Zhadan, Oksana Zabudko, Andriy Kurkov and ex-Minister of Health Vasyl Knyazevich have introduced a charitable program, Humanitarian Solidarity. Its main goal is to provide treatment and rehabilitation of persons who suffered during mass protests on Grushevsky Street. Humanitarian Solidarity program will accept contributions from Ukrainian citizens, charitable organizations, including foreign organizations as well. Cost for treatment will be placed on account of suffered persons or their relatives or through public organizations. That is what the writer Andriy Kurkov said about it. The main goal of the program is to select money and don't leave people who suffered during the protest actions alone. It is also necessary to take into consideration medical and legal aid to these persons. At present, the most significant thing for Ukraine is our national solidarity in order to stop bloodshed and help everyone who suffered. Inadmissible fact is killing of people, and the fact that during the protest actions hundreds of activists, citizens who passed by the place of fighting, journalists, medical workers and representatives of the Minister of Internal Affairs were wounded. Vidrodzhenie International Foundation provides organizational, financial and informational support of the program. The thematic permanent photo exhibition, where one can see the best models of constructed and only designed buildings, was opened in the premises of building of Transcarpathian Regional State Administration. The photos of architectural buildings sent from the different districts of Transcarpathian region are displayed separately. By the way, in July of 2013, a collection of these photos was displayed in Transcarpathian Museum of Folk Architecture and Life and later on the territory of all administrative districts of Transcarpathian region. In future, the photo exhibition will be enlarged with new photos. At present, scores of architectural designs of different buildings worked out by famous, experienced architects of Transcarpathian region and young designers are displayed there. In the nearest future, the Department of Architecture and Town Planning of Transcarpathian Regional State Administration plans to give cash prizes to authors of the best architectural designs. It will help to involve more young and talented architects into this sphere and, in perspective, to create more competitive environment for architects and improve the quality of the architectural branch. As the Zakarpatska Pravda newspaper writes, attraction of young people to work in architectural branch is one of the priority tasks of the Department of Architecture and Town Planning of Transcarpathian Regional State Administration. So this department's page was created in Facebook. There one can get more on architectural branch and make own proposals concerning working out one or other architectural designs. At the end of our program, we propose interesting information dedicated to the 200th birth anniversary of Taras Shevchenko to your attention. The Vesti Pridniprovia regional newspaper writes that people immortalize Taras Shevchenko's memory in the names of streets and squares, museums and cinemas, parks and public gardens. Numerous legends tell about his life. For instance, descendants of harbor pilots tell a story about Taras Shevchenko's self-control and courage with evident pride when this great poet decided to visit Khortytsa Island. On the whole, it is a great number of monuments and other places of interest in Dnipropetrovsk dedicated to Ukrainian poet. For instance, in 1959, the highest mountain to Taras Shevchenko in the world was unveiled on Monastyrsky Island in Dnipropetrovsk. It was created by sculptors Ivan and Valentina Znobas. Numerous myths were created about this unique monument, weighing 60 tons and 14 meters high. The extrasensory perception experts are convinced semi-transparent crystal of knowledge is preserved just here underground in horizontal caverns. That is why most people consider that monument to the great Kobzar assists in child development. According to ancient legend, if parents bring their small children to this monument very often, in such a case their children will be talented and happy.
25 years ago, former Soviet Union withdrew its troops from Afghanistan Republic. More than 160,000 soldiers and officers from Ukraine were involved in combats of this inexplicable war. Over 8,000 of returned soldiers were wounded and more than 6,000 became disabled. 3,280 our boys remained forever young and gave their lives for other people's interests in a foreign land. The Afghan campaign has left an incurable wound in souls and hearts of those who passed the Fearing Mountain Pass, who lost friends, children, or parents. Subsequently, the leadership of the USSR recognized the war in Afghanistan as a political mistake, and participants of those events were then estimated ambiguously and then just ignored. However, this does not detract from the personal heroism of those who became an example of self-sacrifice and fidelity to the military oath. Let us give them our respect today. Our day is unique.